So when you first start AutoCAD, you're going to have a few things here. So right here, you're going to see you have a recent projects folder. I don't have any right now because I just installed the program. Over on the left, we also have Autodesk projects. Again, I don't have this installed. We have a learning page where you can go and get tips and tricks from Autodesk, and you can have a few things called My Insights, which just kind of shows you featured recommendations in the program. If you come up here, you're going to see we have an Open tab. In here, you can open up your own drawings here that you have saved, and over here we have New. You can browse templates or just create a new drawing. In this drawing, we're just going to click Browse Templates, and we're going to go to the basic AutoCAD.dwt folder. You're going to notice here that there is different types of drawing styles, different types of folders and templates you can open. Again, today we're just going to deal with AutoCAD.dwt. Once this is open, you will notice that you have a ribbon here that contains all the tools you'll need to use AutoCAD properly. You're going to see we have visualization tools over here. This allows us to orbit and create 3D objects most of the time. When you're drawing in 2D, you don't tend to use that too often, but it comes in handy when you're using three-dimensional objects. Down here, you're going to notice we have the command bar. The command bar is going to be your best friend when you're using AutoCAD because it allows you to type in commands and get things done instead of having to manually search for it on the ribbons. And then up here, you're going to notice if you want to switch between your drawing and the Start menu, and you click Start, you'll be brought right back down to the main section that we talked about in the previous section of the video. From here, you can open or create new drawings within AutoCAD, and you can also switch back to your other drawing right here. You'll notice you also have a plus button, and you can create and open new drawings based on the previous template that you were using. Once you've gotten yourself accustomed to the layout of AutoCAD 2025, the next thing we're going to do is learn how to do 2D drawing. So when you're doing 2D drawing, you just come to the Home tab, and we have a variety of tools up here. So you're going to see we have lines, polylines, circles. Within circles, there are many different ways that you can create circles. We're just going to stick with the basic one where you select a radius. You can create arcs, rectangles, and ellipses. So I'm going to show you how to draw with a line. So when you click the line tool, you just click where you want to draw a line. You can type in the distance or specify the distance with your cursor. In this case, I'm going to specify the distance with my cursor. Let's say I want it around 7.5. So as you can see, you can also, it's not too accurate if you don't type it. So right now we're just going to type in 7.5 on our keyboards because it's automatically set, as you can see, to that distance that I have. You can also specify an angle if you press tab if you want it to be at, let's say, a 30-degree angle. Press enter and it's now at a 30-degree angle. One thing to note is when you are doing angles, that AutoCAD will take into account what you have as a preset for that. So it's always preset to start on the bottom right, I believe, and that's what I have here. So what you can see here is when I click enter, my line is then created. I can also just draw down, and I can click down, and then I can click on to the left, and I have a perfect triangle. When I come here to polylines, one thing you'll notice is polylines and lines act very similar when you're drawing them right now in this version of AutoCAD. And you'll see that as I draw my polyline, that I'm just going to draw a rectangle, and you can see that it's all just one flush object when I select it. If I go to my lines, I have to manually select each and every line in order to select it. So that's the main difference between lines and polylines. Polylines allow you to draw a drawing and just select that entire sequence of lines at the same time, while just lines don't allow you to do that. If you come up here to circle, you'll be able to select a circle. If you come here and you click where you want your circle, you're going to be able to specify a radius. There is a command to specify a diameter. If you come up here to the circle, you can specify a center and diameter instead of a center and radius. You can also select 2 points, 3 points, tan, tan, radius, and tan, tan, tan. We're just going to select center and radius. So I'm going to go back to what I was doing. I'm going to click the center. I'm going to come out, and we're going to come down to 2.5 just for ease of use. And you can see we have our circle. We can also come here and we can do arcs. There's multiple different types of arcs. There's 3-point arcs, there's center end. You can play around with these and figure them out yourself. In this one, we're just going to do a 3-point arc. So I'm going to specify the start point of my arc. I'm going to specify the second point of my arc, and then I'm going to be able to bend my arc to what I need it to be. So if I come here, I can just make it cap that out. You're going to see on the bottom here that it's not what I want it to be, so I'm just going to click it. I'm going to grab this and I'm going to pull it back to where I want it, and my arc is exactly how I want it. And then up here you're going to see we have a shape command, so you can create rectangles and polygons. So if I click on the rectangle command, I'm going to be able to come up here, and instead of drawing a rectangle like I did with the polyline tool, I'm just going to click in the corner that I want. I'm going to click in the second corner that I want, and then I'm going to have my rectangle. Now, it does stand to reason that you'll be able to do the same thing as you did with polylines. You can specify the length and the width of your rectangle. So again, when you're doing this, type in what you want. So we'll do 7.5. You're going to see that it's highlighted where I'm typing. And once I'm done with that one, I press tab. Do not press enter, press tab, and I'm going to type in 3. Once I've pressed 3, then I will press enter, and then my rectangle will go to the size that I specified through my keyboard. If you come up here again, you'll see there's a little drop-down menu. There's a polygon tool. Once you get that, you can select the number of sides you want. So I'm going to do a 6-sided polygon. I'm going to specify the center of my polygon. It is going to be inscribed in a circle, and you're going to see that I have my 6-sided polygon, and I can specify the radius of the circle that I'm going to use for this polygon, because that's how AutoCAD creates polygons, is through circles kind of. So you're going to press that, and then you'll have your polygon created. Over here, you're going to notice we have the ellipse command. We can specify a center, axis, and elliptical arc. We'll just do center. We'll come over here. We'll just click it down. We're going to specify that size of it, and then once you've specified the distance or the radius of it, you'll be able to stretch it to what you need it to be. I'm going to stretch it to here, and that's how you draw basic shapes in AutoCAD 2025. There's a variety of other commands down here. I encourage you to go and try them out, but we're going to right now move on to the next part of this video. So AutoCAD has a variety of tools that can help make your drawing life way easier. So down here you're going to see we have a variety of tools. So over here you're going to see grid mode. So grid mode allows you to see the grid or not. So if I click that, then my grid will shut off and it'll make the drawing nice and clean for when you need to, look at things a little in a more realistic light. We're going to turn it back on for now. You're going to see we also have snap mode. So this makes it so your cursor when you're drawing snaps to your grid. So you're going to see that I can't go in the center of that square. I can only go to the corners of it, and it snaps to grid. This is very useful when you're making precise drawings that have to be, up to scale and precise. So we're just going to turn that off for now. Over here, we've got ortho mode. So what this does is when you're drawing, it restricts your cursor to the X and the Y axis. This is good for making nice, clean 90-degree angles. And then we've also got a variety of other tools over here. So we can click here, and we can select our snap points. So if you haven't already, then come here and select the snap points I have. These are the snap points that I use personally all the time. I don't tend to use some of the other ones because they don't really affect my work. But if you have to do that and it would affect your work, then go and play with what you want. But I'm just going to leave this up for a minute. Please feel free to pause the video and take note of what I've had and then select what you need to use as well. The next thing we're going to go over quickly is the command bar. So the command bar allows you to speed up the drafting process. One tool that I would like to tell you about that I don't see anyone talking about is the Dynmode command. So I want you to come down to your command bar, type in DYN mode, and you're going to see a pop-up show up. I want you to press enter, and you're going to have a variety of selections you can make. Once you have this, if your value is not 3, I want you to type in 3 and then press enter. When you have 3 set, you can start just typing on your keyboard without having to select the command bar. This is something a lot of people, ask about, but it's something that's really important. So I have mine set to 3 already, and I'm just going to show you what that looks like in a minute. So instead of typing on the command bar and having to manually click on it every time, you can just type in line. And then you're going to see that the line command is going to show up, and we'll automatically have lines set on our drawing. We can also do this for polylines, circles, arcs, modifying, anything really. So if I want to scale something, I type in scale, I press enter, I can select my object, I can press enter, and then my command is already there and I can already scale the object. So just keep that in mind and just know that the command bar is one of the most important tools you will use in AutoCAD. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to learn how to edit objects. So once you have the command bar set up, you're going to be in a way better position. So right now what we're going to do is we're going to learn how to copy, mirror, scale, stretch just really quickly. So if you come up here, you're going to see we have our command. So we have the scale command, stretch command. If I come here, I'm going to click mirror. I'm going to select the object I want to mirror. I'm going to press enter. I'm going to specify the first part of my mirror line. I'm going to specify the second part of my mirror line. I'm going to press enter. I do not want to erase my source object. You can if you want. So if you select erase source object, it will mirror the object but get rid of the original. Helpful in some situations, but if you just want to mirror it and make like the house, if it's, mirrored down the middle, then just click no. So I'm going to click no, and there we have it. We have a mirrored object. Now you can specify the distance and everything, but that's a different function for a different time. If you come here, you also have the scale command. So if I click the scale command and I select my object and press enter, I can specify the base point of my scale, and it will allow me to scale up my object by multiples of whatever I type in. So if I type in 4, it'll be, I think, 4 times as large or something like that. You know, you can also just drag it as well. If you come here, we also have the stretch command up in the top left-hand corner. This allows you to stretch an object. So if I click my line, I press enter and I stretch it, well, it's going to just stretch my line. You know, stretch command has a variety of uses, but it's more so used when you have like rectangles or something like that. If we come down here, you're going to have a variety of other tools, but we're not going to get into that right now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to learn how to trim. So if I type in trim, it will allow me to trim objects off of another object. So you can see here, one of the new features in some of the newer AutoCADs is instead of trimming the entire object of a polyline like was previous in like AutoCAD 2019 and prior, is it would trim the entire rectangle I have here. But instead, right now, it'll only trim the one side. So this is something that's very useful. Trimming is good if you have like a door that you want to put in. So I just trimmed the left-hand side here. If you want a precise trim, you can come over and you can just like create a little like line here, and then you can drop it down. And if I type trim, I know that's not very nice, but that line will stop it from trimming. So I can also even trim the line itself. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you want to edit a variety of objects at once, you can either manually select them all. So you can either click down and go right and you can select them all, or if you click down left and you pull up, it will automatically select the objects that it comes into contact with for editing. So I don't have to select them all perfectly. Another way you can do this is if you just drag, you will get the lasso command. So this allows you to select everything within that, and then it'll select all that. If you want to just move and rotate objects, one of the best ways you can do this is instead of going to the Modify tab and selecting Move, if you remember the command I told you before, the Dynmode, then you can just type in Move, press Enter, select the objects you want to move. So you can select multiple at once, so I'm going to select 3 here. I'm going to press Enter again. I'm going to specify the base that I want to move it from, and then I can select it from there and just move it from that base, and it moves all my objects. If you want to rotate an object or two, I'm just going to select these 2 here. I can select them, type in Rotate, press Enter. I can specify the base point. I'll just do that in the center of one of these. And then you can see that I can rotate it. Once I've got it rotated where I need to, I can press down, and then it's going to be rotated fully for me. Once that's done, you can then come over here and we're going to learn how to navigate our drawing. So over here we have the pan tool, so you can grab that and it'll allow you to pan. Another way you can do this is you can just hold your middle mouse button and you can just drag with your middle mouse. So just hold it and drag, and the pan command will automatically be activated, and this is way easier than just coming here and using that. You're going to see over here we have a cube. So what this cube does, it allows you to change the view of your drawing. So up here you're going to have 2 little arrows. These arrows will swap your direction by 90 degrees. So right now we're upside down relative to what I was doing before. Then I'm on the right. I was also on the left before. You're going to see here that we have an east, a west, and a north. So what this does is it allows you to get 3D views for 3D objects. If you just click on the cube, you can select the view you want. So right now we're in the top left-hand corner. You know, I can click the front, I can click the right, I can click the corners, and this is very useful when you're doing 3D drawings, which we're about to get into in a moment. Once you are set into this view, you're almost ready to start 3D drawing. So the first thing you're going to notice is there's going to be no 3D tools bar up here yet. I do have mine, but you won't. So just come up here, right click on the bar up here, and you're going to see show tabs, and you're going to see the 3D tools one. So just select that. It should have a check mark beside it. Once that's done, you can just come here, go to 3D tools. Another way you can do this is you can come up here and switch from drafting and annotation to 3D basics or 3D modeling. I recommend you go to 3D modeling as it has much more tools for you to use in 3D. So once that's done, you're going to have a variety of tools here, and we're going to show you how to use them. So the first thing we're going to do is come here, and right under box we have a variety of solids we can make. So we can make boxes, cylinders, cones, spheres, pyramids, wedges, torus, polysolids. What we're going to do is we're just going to click on the box. Once you click on the box, you should be able to draw a box. So what you do is you just draw, your X and your Y, so you get the size of it. So I'm going to do a square at 10 by 10, and then you're going to be able to extrude it. So you can extrude it in the negative, or you can extrude it in the positive. Make sure you're extruding in the positive. I'm going to make it 10, so it's going to be a cube. You can do this for a variety of things. So you can do that. You can do a cylinder. So the cylinder, it works just like the 2D circle command for the first part. So we'll make it 3.3. And then for the extrude, the same thing applies. So just type in 2.5 and you'll have a cylinder. And you can go through and you can play with these and figure it all out yourself. So if you want to turn your wireframe 3D objects into a more realistic approach, you can come up here. You can click 2D wireframe and select what you'd like. You can click realistic. You can click anything here you really want. I recommend realistic. You can do sketchy, make it look more like a sketch, and other types. I'm going to leave it as a 2D wireframe for now. The next thing we're going to talk about is meshes. So you're going to come up here and you're going to see there is a thing called convert to mesh. So I'm actually going to switch that to realistic, and then I'm going to select my object and I'm going to click convert to mesh. And you're going to see that my cube has now turned into a mesh. So you're going to see you can go in, you can edit, the different types of panels on the mesh on it, that's for another video. But if you come here and you want to make it a little smoother and you select it, you can click refine mesh and it should make it a little smoother. This applies to anything that is a 3D object. Another thing you can do is you can use the move gizmo, the rotate gizmo, the scale gizmo to just move your 3D meshes around and stuff. And you're also going to be able to adjust any 3D object as you see fit. As you can tell up here, you also have 3D fillet commands, 3D offset commands, blend, trim, and other types of tools. One thing I will mention is when you're editing 3D objects, I do have a video on that, so I'm just going to leave a link and a timestamp for that right up in the top right corner, so you can go check that out for extruding and subtracting. Back to the topic of meshes, if you come back to the modeling section, you're going to notice that you can insert meshes into your drawing automatically. So if we just click on mesh box, we can specify where we want to put our mesh box, we can bring it up, and then we're going to have a mesh box. And you can go and you can click that, and you're going to see that you have multiple different meshes on there that you can then customize to what you need it to be. Once your work is complete, you are now ready to export. So what you can do is you can come here. If you go in the top right corner, click on your A symbol, you can click Save As, and you can save the drawing as a .dwg file. You can create a drawing template. We're just going to save it as a DWG file. Once that's up, you can save it wherever you need to. I'm going to save it as drawing1.dwg. We're going to save, and then when you want to export, you can click Output, and you can see this export button here. You can export it as a DWF or a PDF. A PDF allows you to send it to a printer to print your object, and a DWF allows you to just see the drawing as it is. So once that's done, you can save it, it's been exported, and you're ready to go. So today we're going to go over the basics of 3D design in AutoCAD. This is a basic tutorial that I'm going to try and get as much information into 10 to 15 minutes as possible. And we're going to start by saying that I'm using AutoCAD 2025. If you're using a previous version, then this tutorial is applicable to you and it will be available to you and you should be able to use it. So the first thing I want you guys to do is I want you to get into a empty drawing, and I'm going to show you how to activate 3D tools in AutoCAD if you don't have it activated already. So the first thing you guys are going to want to do is come up here with your cursor and right click on this black bar up here. Once you right click on that, you're going to get this drop down menu show up. When you're in the drop down menu, you're going to see there's show panels, show tabs. We want to go to show tabs, and you want to come here and you can see all the tabs that you can then add to the quick bar. You're going to want to click 3D tools. I already have a check mark beside it because I already have it active on my bar. If you don't already, click this and make sure it's active on your bar. Once that's done, we're going to come up here, click on 3D tools, and we're going to have a variety of tools that we can use to start learning how to do AutoCAD 3D design. Once that is done, we need to learn how can we actually make it so we can draw in 3D. So what you're going to notice here is on the top right hand corner of your screen, you're going to have this little box here. So what this box does is it allows you to adjust the orientation of your screen so you can draw in 3D. Now this isn't just for 3D. As you can see, if you're using 2D, you can rotate, and this can be used for two-dimensional drawing as well, but it's most likely and most used in 3D spaces. Because if I come here and I click the bottom left hand corner of the box, you're going to see that the box then rotates and I can click on other parts of the box to go and change my view. But right now I'm in the 3D view. When I'm in the 3D view, I can then start drawing. Now I can rotate around. I can click the right hand corner, I can click the right hand corner to that corner, and I can just keep going around and I can change my orientation based on what I'm doing. So you're never stuck in one dimension. Once you know how that works, the next thing we can do is we can start learning how to actually use solids in 3D AutoCAD. So what you're going to notice up here is you're going to have your tool section. You're going to see that there is box, and then within box there is a few other choices like cylinder, cone, sphere, pyramid, wedge, torus, polysolid. In this example, we're just going to use a box because I'm trying to make this as quick as possible. So I just want you guys to click box. And then once we have box selected, we should be able to draw a box on our screen. So just select a corner, and then this works just like the regular rectangle command in two-dimensional AutoCAD. So just go here, create it, and then just pull it up to where you need it to be. You can also go in the negative direction. If you come up here, and let's just make it 0.5. For those who don't know, I am using the metric system in this tutorial. If you don't know how to switch between metric and imperial, then you can go and check out this tutorial right here in the top right hand corner. That'll teach you everything you need to know about 2D AutoCAD. So once we're done here, the next thing we can do is we can learn about the extrude command. So extruding is something you use when you draw a 2D object on AutoCAD. So if I draw a rectangle and I use extrude, all extruding does is it turns your 2D object into a 3D object, but we don't really need to get into that. One of the most important things you really need to learn is meshes. So meshes are something that give you more control over a 3D object, and we're going to show you how to do that in a minute. But the first thing I need to show you is how are we going to make our 3D object look better? Because right now it's just a wireframe, it has no substance to it, and it looks pretty bad. So what you can do here is if you come up here in the top left hand corner, you're going to see there's a southwest isometric. So as I said with the cube here, you can actually, instead of just clicking on the cube and going around and messing with it, you can actually come here and select which isometric view you want it. So we're just going to stick with southwest isometric. But you can also come here and you'll see 2D wireframe, and you're going to see there's a variety of wireframes and different types of ways we can make our object look. So if I click conceptual, then it should change it to a solid object. So the next thing we're going to talk about is meshes. So what we can do with our box that we made is we can convert it into a mesh. So if we come up here and press the plus command, we click this, we can then click on our object, press enter, and you're going to get this box show up. Don't worry about this. It'll ask you what you want to do. You can filter non-mesh objects from the selection set, or you can convert non-mesh objects to mesh objects before they add the smoothness. So I recommend for this tutorial, we're just going to click the bottom one here, and you're going to see the difference between a 3D object and a 3D mesh. So if we come here to 2D wireframe and change it back to conceptual, you're going to notice that there is more squares, it's segregated more. This is actually easier to see in 2D wireframe, but you're going to see that there's different sections of this. It's not a square anymore, but the square we made. You're going to see that with these you can then adjust these individually instead of adjusting the entire object. Because if we just had a box, we could only change the length, width, and height. In this, I can extrude one little square that's in here, so I could extrude the middle part instead of extruding the entire thing. I'll show you what that looks like in a minute, but first we're going to go over here and we're going to create meshes without converting meshes. So what you do is you come here to modeling, and you're going to see there's a variety of meshes you can already make. So we're just going to make a mesh box. So you take this, you draw it, and you can see that it looks similar to what we had before. Come up here, we're going to make it 0.5 in height, and you're going to see that this mesh is more of a square than the one that we previously had, because this one we converted using a different tool. But over here you're going to see that we have a variety of different mesh sections in this than we did do it in the previous one. And what this does is, as I explained before, it allows you to pull things out and do things with that. So I'm going to show you how to do that in a moment. So one of the most important things you need to know when you're extruding the little squares and rectangles that we've been looking at on our screen right now is extruding a face. So if you come here and click extrude face, then you will be able to select one of these little faces that you see, and you'll be able to extrude it. So once you select the ones you want to extrude, press enter and it'll let you pull them out. So we'll just pull it out, and you can use it like any other AutoCAD. You just type in what you need to put. So we'll just do one, and I can do this for any surface that I have here. So I'm just going to do this for a few of them, just to show you how it works a little bit. So if I come here, I can do the top left hand corner as well. I can pull it up by 0.5, and I pulled that one out down here on the bottom as well. And if I come here and I switch from 2D wireframe to a conceptual view, then you're going to see that I have it extruded. One thing you can do is you're going to say, well, okay, well, if I have these meshes, then can't I make it so it's more detailed? The answer to that question is yes, and we're going to get into that in a moment. So what we're going to do now is we're going to merge the faces on our mesh. So if you come up here and go to mesh and you click merge face, you can then select the different faces. As we saw before, the faces are what you are extruding out of your object. Once you have selected the ones you want to merge together, you can press enter and it will become one face. And when you then go and you extrude this, if you come down here and click extrude face, it is now one face. You click that face, press enter, and you'll be able to push it up, down, wherever you need it. I'm going to do 0.5 again. And then if I go here and I switch to a conceptual frame, you're going to notice that I then extruded that entire section that I merged together instead of just the one square as you see in the bottom left-hand corner. There's another thing that we need to go over, and that will be how we can smooth this out. So we'll do that in a minute. So what you're going to see here is we have our mesh, and in this mesh we can define the smoothness more, or we can shrink it as well. So if you come up here, you're going to see there is smooth more. So it'll increase the smoothness of the mesh, so that makes it so it's not as blocky, and it's easier to manipulate what the mesh is. You're also going to notice there's a decrease or smooth less button. So what this does is it decreases the amount of smoothness on an object and makes it more blocky, like we have right here. So if we click on our object and we go and we click smooth and we get off that, you can see that it's smoothed out our object. And you're also going to notice that when I go and I try to, extrude a face or merge a face, you're going to see I have new faces on my object. So this is very important and very helpful for if you're trying to make really detailed objects in AutoCAD. You can smooth it to where you need it, and then you can use that model to create the object you need to create. We can also make it less smooth. So if I go here, I select my mesh, I press enter, it just popped right back to the way it was. I don't know if I could go even more than this, but the smoothness level of this object is already as small as it can go. But you can see if I keep clicking this, it's going to get smoother and smoother and smoother and smoother. And I'm at the smoothest phase that we can get to now. And you can see that this object is incredibly smooth, and this is what our square has turned into. So if I come here and I go to extrude face, you're going to see I have my faces, and then I can pull it out, and you're going to see how smooth it actually is. And you can see that AutoCAD does a really good job of showing you how this works, how this looks, and it's just a really useful tool when you're trying to create smoother objects. Again, you can also get rid of, you can decrease the smoothness and increase it however you wish. It's just really nice to use. It's not as good as some other programs, but it still works really well. So with that said, this was the conclusion of our program. Thank you for tuning in. Hopefully you learned a little bit about AutoCAD 3D. We are going to put out another video, part 2 for this, because we're running out of time, and we're going to detail some of the other commands up here. If you're interested in that, subscribe, hit the bell notification, and we're going to get that out to you probably in the next week. Thank you for tuning in. We're looking forward to seeing you in the next video, and thank you for all your support. If you're new to AutoCAD, just remember that we do have free courses on AutoCAD. We have a free one that we're giving out. It's down in the description down below. And we also have a webinar coming up in June. We're really excited for that. If you're interested in becoming an AutoCAD certified user, this is more so for people who've never used the program. And just so you know, when you do our program, and let's say you do decide to join our program for the webinar, and you're using AutoCAD, it will count towards your 150 hours to reaching that threshold. So until next time, thank you. We'll see you in the next video.